to the cloud.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm going to introduce Claudia, and I'm super excited that the topic that we are going to speak today, that is about time management, time blocking, and I think that for sure is the key to success in whatever, in your personal life, in your professional life, in whatever you want to succeed. So thank you, Claudia, to be here. Claudia is actress, is a communication consultant. She is ICF Certified Life Coach, executive coach with over 15 years of experience, and a licensed realtor. We will discuss today time management, time blocking. As we mentioned, is necessary skill for our wellness and efficiency. And I can think in someone better than you, Claudia, to be here, learning to juggle 3 careers while being a single mom. So you have a lot of experience in this. So I would love to, and you love to empower women, and thank you for that, because you are a very committed member of We Evolution, and I want to thank you for that. And well, we want to hear from your perspective and teach us about it, please.
Of course, it's a pleasure. Well, I'm thrilled to see so many familiar faces who have joined us today. Thank you for being here and for taking the time to join me. I definitely, in this, as Stacey said, juggling 3 careers and being a single mom, one of the things that I've noticed is that we tend to gravitate toward the things that we feel we need the most, right? And therefore, when we've learned a bit about them, you want to pay it forward, you want to teach it. And in trying to figure out how to juggle 3 careers, I started, focusing on different types of time management. And recently, not too long ago, I came across time blocking, which was actually developed by Elon Musk. And I was introduced to it by someone called Vishen, who is the founder of Mind Valley Academy. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mind Valley Academy, but it's a wonderful resource. It's the kind of foundation and work that I dreamt of 30 years ago and that I'm thrilled somebody's done. So it's wonderful to kind of be here and share this with you. Let's jump right in. And I'm going to share my screen so that we can take a look at what we're going to be doing today and how we're going to be applying all of these things. So there we go. I think that kind of works. How do I minimize here? And perfect. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you today, of course, aside from the fact that we're doing time blocking, is that I'm guessing, as I've certainly experienced this in the past, how many of you are tired of the fact that your to-do list doesn't get done, right? We have these to-do lists, we have these calendars, we have all of these tools nowadays, whether it's your Samsung phone, whether it's your iPhone, whether we have all of these wonderful tools, but we don't always get the most out of them. We don't always have the capacity to actually be able to use them in ways that support us the most. But we're going to change that today. So I was introduced to time blocking, and my version of time blocking is an amalgamation of 8 different time management techniques that we're going to kind of very briefly skim through so that you kind of understand them and have them as a resource in case you want to study them or look into them. I normally do a time management workshop where we go through each one of these aspects and implement them. But today, because of the time constraint, we're going to touch upon them, understand what they are, and then see how we're going to apply them through my method so that you can incorporate all of this into your time blocking. So today's workshop benefits is we're going to review these 8 different methods. We're going to break down the steps to basically incorporate all of these 8 aspects into the time blocking. We're going to determine your goals, your priorities, and your distractions. And this is huge because a lot of times when we're talking about time, we're not necessarily clear what we're going towards, right? We have these huge goals. We have long-term goals, short-term goals, things we need to get done this week or today, but we don't necessarily know how to best maximize our time to make sure that all of those things get done. And part of that is setting those priorities. So if you notice in the chat, let me see if I can get the screen share in a different way so that you can see the chat as well. Can I do that?
As far as I know, you cannot share functions inside of Zoom. You will not be able to share.
Not be able to? Okay, all right. Thank you for that. I think there's view options that allow me to maximize certain things and minimize others so that I could show them simultaneously, but that's okay. We'll work through it through here, and then we'll snap out and bring in other aspects, but thank you for that. So there are two things in the chat, in the Zoom chat. There's two PDFs that I wanted to share with all of you for you guys to take a look at. These are going to be exercises that you can keep, that you're going to be able to apply, that you're going to be able to use. And we're going to talk through some of them to be able to implement them. But we're not going to go through them in deep detail. They're questions for you to actually look at and develop afterwards that will clarify your path to making this very successful. Okay, so that's going to help you determine the goals. We're also going to find what the elephant in the room is. And we're going to find what your Mount Everest is, right? And these are terms that I like using. There's different terminologies. One of them is, you know, the have you eaten your frog yet method, which is an interesting, comes from Mark Twain, that says this: if you eat a frog first thing in the morning, then the rest of the day can only get better, right? And so it's interesting how we can apply these things, these ideas, these theories into ways that are going to support us. So we're going to find our elephant in the room, and we're going to define what our Mount Everest is. And we're going to understand the difference between being effective and being efficient with our time. So we're going to then put it all together, and we're going to create our time block schedule. So different time management techniques. These are tried and true proven techniques that exist. There's the Eisenhower matrix. It helps basically sort the difference between urgent and non-urgent, and important and non-important tasks that contribute to our goals. That method is very good when you're visual, when you need to make a lot of decisions. It was, of course, formulated by President Eisenhower. And so you basically allow for these 4 blocks of time. You write what's important, what's not important, what's urgent, what's not urgent. What's not important and not urgent basically gets tossed or delegated. The important but not urgent, if it can be delegated, gets delegated, and you tackle the urgent and important. The getting things done method is an interesting method by author David Allen. Basically, the idea here is that it helps clarify actionable steps. So when we get into overwhelm, who's gotten into overwhelm about handling time? Do we ever say yes to too many things? Do we ever find ourselves in situations where it's overwhelming? Okay, we have a commitment or we have a deadline and we're not certain how exactly we're going to tackle that, right? So those moments of overwhelm, getting this method is very helpful. The get things done will allow you to understand, okay, maybe I have a move that's coming up, but I still need to be able to focus and be productive in my day-to-day. How do I turn this move, which is swirling in the back of my mind and taking up my precious mental space, into actionable steps so that I can put those worries in the back burner and still be able to focus and get things done? So it creates a way to write down the worries and the actual tasks to define and clarify what is actionable and what you can do about it. The 80-20 rule basically says that 20% of our actions are responsible for 80% of our outcomes. And this is really, really powerful. If you think about it, of all your day, only 20% of those actions that you do are responsible usually for 80% of your outcome. So whatever you see in your life that is working, that's fantastic. That 20% is being used wisely. Whatever you see in your life that's not working, then we get to restructure that 20% of our actions, right? So for example, it's helpful if, for example, you're a realtor, right? We can get bogged down in the emails and take hours and hours to review emails. But the actual phone calls to the client, the actual promoting of a property, the actual showing, that is what's going to bring in the income. That's what's going to bring in the success. That 20% of time that I dedicate to that is going to be 80% of my outcome or income as a realtor, right? So defining what your 20% is that makes everything most successful is key. So we're going to use that as well. The rapid planning method defines task, the result you want, and the purpose for completion. So this is Tony Robbins' method. And of course, being Tony Robbins, you want to look at what is the stimulating part behind or purpose behind your tasks, right? What is it that you want to accomplish? And why do you want to accomplish it? Because a lot of times just having this goal isn't sufficient motivation for us to achieve it. So when you look at the result and you can visualize what that result would be, what you actually want to happen happening, it helps stimulate a part in ourselves that makes it much more likely for us to attain that goal. And the other aspect of it is if we can define the purpose, right? And we have a clear reason why we're doing what we're doing, it also makes it much more not just challenging, but much more interesting, much more inspiring, and we're much more determined to accomplish it. There's another theory that's really interesting. It's called the pickle jar theory. It basically says that you can fit in a jar large stones, medium pebbles, and sand. Now, if you think of the large stones, pebbles, and sand as your really important goals, the things that need to get done but don't have to be today, could be another day. And the sand is all of the distraction, right? Then how do we make that more successful? Well, if we fill the sand first, then the pebbles, we're never going to have room for the rocks. If we fill it with the rocks first, then the pebbles, then you can fill the sand and all of the rest of the gaps. Right? So this is a very visual technique that I find super helpful because it helped me clarify, okay, I need to make time for the important things first and clarify what those are for me. Which ones have to get done today or this week, which ones can be postponed. And then the rest is busyness. It's distractions or the little things of life that we need to do, but that we'll find time to do when the other important things aren't taking place. The Parkinson's law, this is huge and super important. And let me know if I'm going too fast. If anybody has any questions, please raise your hands, all of that. I tend to have a lot of material that I like to give you and share with you so that you get a lot of value in the process.
Sorry, we interrupt you during or at the end?
Oh, if you have any questions during, please raise your hand. Okay. Feel free. I'm happy to answer questions in the process. Yeah. So the Parkinson's law, this is super important. And this is huge because when we understand the law, we understand what's kind of happening that's not supporting us in achieving exactly what we want to achieve. And this basically says that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. What does that mean? That if we allot an hour and a half for it, it'll take us an hour and a half to do it or more. But if we allot 45 minutes to it, we have to find a way to focus and get that done in 45 minutes. And we will do the best that we can within those 45 minutes to complete that. It might not be as elaborately, as profoundly, as beautifully, but if we don't set time periods for this, right, we will get distracted and we will use up all the time we have. So this law is powerful because if I don't schedule something after my, let's say I have my focus time for an hour and a half. I happen to like, 45 to hour and a half minute sections, and I'll explain why after. But let's say I have an hour and a half and I don't have anything after that. I've given myself a break and I have an open block of time. Things and distractions in life will come about in a way where subconsciously I know I have extra time, and if a phone call comes in, I'll take it. Or if a ding on the phone happens and it's social media and it's something I'm interested in, I'll take a look at it. And then that hour and a half that I allotted to get this done becomes 2.5 because I didn't have anything set for the following hour. So we will find subconscious ways to sabotage or increase the time we take to do a task. And this is powerful because this is where time blocking becomes very helpful, in that we're going to start allotting time for everything in our lives that's needed and that needs to get done. So the Pomodoro technique basically is for when we're feeling overwhelmed, right? And this technique basically says that you can allot specific shorter amounts of time. So let's say that you allot 25 minutes, and every 25 minutes, you're going to put a timer, and then you're going to take a 5-minute break. So it allows you to bring time sections, the deep focus sections, into much more manageable time slots when you're feeling overwhelmed with the things that are happening. So this way, if you have a deep focus, you can extend that amount of time into then a 50-minute period, and then take a 10-minute break. Get that phone call, get up, grab a cup of tea, take that bathroom break, all those things. But if you're in overwhelm, if your calendar and your responsibilities are overwhelming at any moment, break it down into 25/5. And this allows you to feel, one, that you are completing tasks at a faster pace and in a shorter time period, and checking those things off. And then the overwhelm comes down. And so we can get back into kind of a more focused, more centered space. And the time blocking technique, of course, is exactly what it sounds like. We grab chunks of time in our calendar that we're going to specify for different tasks, but we're going to do it for absolutely everything in our lives, from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep. And this is a wonderful quote by a professor who I work with, and it's one of the people that I admire. And he said something to me that was really powerful. He said, fill your day with high priority tasks, or your day will be filled with low priority activities. Now, how many times have you expected, oh, today I'm going to get these 3 top tasks done. And then the next thing you know, your school called about your child, your boss wants something done immediately, there's an emergency that you need to put out, your company, you need to, and the next thing you know, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and your day went out the window and you have no idea how that happened, right? Have you ever found that all the little fires, all the little menial tasks will take over and you've lost your day? I certainly have experienced that, don't love it, really frustrated me. And this is why part of this was such a challenge for me, and something that I really wanted to study and develop and look into and pay forward, because it really changed my life. And so I found that either I learned to run my day or my day runs me. So one of the biggest things is I had a relationship with time that I'm still working on, to tell you very honestly. I had a conversation about this yesterday, as a matter of fact, with Maria Gabriela and some other friends and coaches, that, our relationship with time is something that we need to look at. We often complain about not having enough time. And somebody said to me, well, Claudia, think about it. You have the same amount of hours a day that Beyonce does. And I thought, that's brilliant. I just wish I had the team and support that she does, right? That would make a difference. A little money would definitely come a long way in this aspect. So yes, Of course. So it helps when you have a team of people that you can delegate to, and a team of people who can pick up your laundry, and a team of people who can cook for you, and you don't have to worry about the dishes. But it also helps when we have a very clear idea of what we want to achieve. And it's not just a lack of time, but it's a lack of direction, that we haven't really taken a look at, okay, what is my big picture? What do I want to accomplish this year? What do I want to accomplish in the next 6 months, or in this month, or this week? And we bring it down from the big picture to the smaller, actionable steps that we can take for that big picture. And if we don't look at that big picture, it's never going to get done. Because all the little things, the sand will fill the jar and not allow for the big rocks that are our important tasks to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the CRC process, kind of how I take care of this and how I juggle all of this. And I have a list that I've shared with you on the chat in PDF form. Please let me know if you can see it. Or were you able to see it before? Yes? Yes, thumbs up. Yes, yes.
So what do you mean by a list? I have the weekly to-do list.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Perfect. That's the one, the weekly to-do list. So I'm sharing that with you because I found that one of the things that helped tremendously, and this is one of the things that Tony Robbins says with his method, is when you write a list, right, it's helpful to visualize it. But not just visualize it, chunk it with things that are categories in the ways that, for example, I'm sharing one of my lists with you so that you can have that and you can keep that tool and you can use it. Now you can change those categories into whatever supports you the most. But the idea is basically something that has to do with work, with your career, with your personal life, with your family life, with your health, so that the main aspects, body, mind, and soul, and career, right, are addressed. So this is your brainstorm list. This is where I love using it so that I can write down anything and everything that comes up that needs to get done, from, oh my gosh, I forgot to change the light bulbs in the garage, to I need to talk to the lawyer about incorporating my company. Okay, so anything that needs to happen goes on this list. And the way that I've found helpful to do is that we're going to chunk it in kind of priority sections. By creating these categories and defining those priorities, when we write our master list, right, if we write the ones that we think are most important towards the top of the list, leave a few lines, and the ones that are least important towards the bottom of the list, it'll help us define the priorities. And then we can take a look at the whole thing, basically grab a highlighter and select the ones that, okay, these must get done this week. Then we grab that and we apply it to our time block. Is this making sense so far? Yes?
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. So I'm sharing my weekly to-do list. This is my to-do list for this week. And basically mine has, as we talked about before, 3 careers, my son, my health, and something that I love putting out here that I call the universe. And what is the universe? These are the big picture things that I want to create, that I'm setting my intention for, that I might not be ready to put actionable steps to right now, or that I am putting actionable steps to, but could use a little help. And I love to set intentions because they give us a clear direction. And so this universe section is, okay, I want to double my clients in the next 2 months, for example. I'm not sure quite how that's going to happen, but I'm going to set the intention and I'm going to trust that the universe is going to open up the ways to support me to do that. okay? And this is a powerful thing. This is where we create intentions and visualizations, which we've heard from The Secret and from all kinds of sources, that these things really make a difference and that really function and work. So I suggest you use the universe, but if you don't like that terminology, you can always put intentions or purpose and use that category as an intention or purpose. So for example, I'll go through all of these things. I'll write down, why do we want to write it down? Why not do it on the computer? Why not? They have determined, there's research that has determined that if you write it down and you can see it and you actually put it down, you are 42% more likely to achieve it. And this is scientific research, and I found that fascinating. So once I have that, right, I basically then determine from that, I grab that list. Can you all see this? Sort of? Yes, no, not so much?
No, it blends with your background.
It blends with background? Okay. So basically I grab a highlighter and I'll go through these sections. And for example, where it says, okay, coaching, my ICF credentials, I dyslexic wrote that backwards. So my ICF credentials, I want to talk to the ICF and determine the amount of hours and check on my membership and all that. That's something that's a priority for me this week. So it's written at the top of the list. Some of the PDFs that I want to do as free content to do and offer clients, or to basically get leads. So those are important, but they're at the bottom of my list because they can be the little things that I fill. They can be my sand, or they can be my pebbles rather than my rocks, than the big tasks that I really want to accomplish. I want to get this cleared first. So that's why I write it. And you see how I have little gaps in between what I write? Because during the week, something will come up and we'll fill that gap. Or I wake up in the morning, or I'm going to sleep and, you know, my head's kind of rummaging through the things of the day. I'm doing my meditation and I got an idea. I have this list handy. That way I can write it there and I can put those worries or those concerns or those ideas to sleep. It's on my list. Then I make the time for it in my time blocking. So again, research shows that you are more likely, 42% more likely to achieve a goal if you write it down. If you're clear on what you wish to achieve, you believe and you visualize that you can do it, you break it down into action steps, and huge, if you create accountability, you will double your chances of succeeding and of accomplishing whatever you set your mind to. So what is this create accountability? Well, it can be a friend, it can be a colleague, it can be a boss, it can be a team leader, it can be a coach, but use someone that you, or yourself, you make a progress report every week. Now, by doing this list and checking that you're doing your blocking and making sure that all of that gets checked at again on Sunday before the next week, and updating the list, that's a way to do accountability. Excuse me. That is a way for you to say, okay, what of what I said to achieve did I achieve? And now I'm going to do a new list for the next week, because that's going to help me, one, see what's been accomplished, and two, set a new set of priorities. Maybe it's not weekly, maybe it's every 2 weeks, but at least every 2 weeks, you should be looking at updating this list. So set your high priority tasks. It's not enough to be busy. The question is what to be busy about. And I love that quote by Thoreau. Because again, we can be very busy. There are days that I don't stop and I'm putting in 16-hour days and I'm like, where'd the day go? But how much did I accomplish of what I really want to accomplish in my life? Right? So this changes that perspective, and it changes the way that we can go about our day so that we have dominion over our day, so that that 20% of our day that is responsible for 80% of that outcome is that most efficient, most effective, most productive, most abundant use of our time. So,
Can I ask a question, Claudia?
yes, of course, please.
In the weekly to-do list, you
Yes.
put everything, or you just put what you think is realistic to accomplish in this week?
That's a wonderful question, actually. And I'll tell you, I tend to do both. So I tend to have my weekly list and a backup list. And that backup list is kind of a long page, maybe, of things that I want to accomplish within the next 6 months or the next year, right? My big, longer term goals. And what helps to write those down is, okay, what goes on my weekly list is the action steps of that big goal that I can accomplish this week, or that I think I can accomplish this week or next week, right? But the big goal is on my long, I'm going to share that with you guys actually before the end. I'm going to share the long list as well, because I think it might be helpful as you bring this up. I work with clients and with friends and people on a sort of letter of achievement. It's a yearly task goal intention, basically. And it helps to then bring that down into a 6 month, a 3 month, a month. And there you break it down into a weekly process so that by the end of the year, what you set out to do gets achieved. So we're going to set our goals weekly, monthly, and yearly, right? And take a minute. You know, I find that New Year's resolutions and all that stuff are really interesting, but we rarely take the time to look at, okay, what would I like to accomplish this year? Where would I like my life to be? And it's really a wonderful time to do that. And we have various opportunities throughout the year to do that. The equinoxes, I think, are helpful, and the solstices, or the transitions between the seasons. These are all times when we can say, at any moment, we can do it on a weekly basis, we can do it on a monthly basis. Wait a second, okay, this week just went off course. You know, something happened, I had an emergency, a medical situation came up, and all of my tasks and goals went out the window. So you can feel a bit derailed. Well, you have the opportunity next Monday to put it right back on track. And that's what's exciting, is that we need to give ourselves, you know, a little pat on the back every once in a while, and take the wins and acknowledge the wins and acknowledge what is working, so that we can take a look at what's not working clearly without judgment and say, wow, I choose to do that differently. Wow, I just realized, okay, this is not working for me. I realized, for example, that checking emails first thing in the morning is a nightmare for me, because my deep focus time goes out the window. Something in one of those emails is going to trigger me into an hour and a half of responding, of dealing with it. And so I have decided not to look at my emails until noon, when my deep focus and my 2-hour chunk of time with my phone off, and the world could fall apart and I will not know it, but those 2 hours are the most productive 2 hours of my day. Right? So these are things that we get to learn about ourselves, and we're going to get to apply them. So let's get to the elephant in the room. What is the most difficult thing for you to tackle? Right? That's the elephant in the room. The one that we keep putting on the back burner, the one that we keep not wanting to address, the one that's, wow, it's looming, it's really big, it's something that I really need to do, it's something that I really should have done. And, you know, we don't want to shit all over ourselves kind of thing, but it's important, and I haven't accomplished it. And why? So I'll give you an example, perfect example. I have been wanting to complete and finish and upload my coaching website for about 2 years now. And it's silly, but between one thing and another, it's the one thing that gets put on the back burner. So that's the elephant in my room. So how do I tackle that? I've grabbed that into small action steps that I get to do, which is getting me closer and closer and closer. And I put those in the time block to make sure that they're getting done at least 1 or 2 days a week. Whether it's getting testimonials from people that I've worked with, or whether it's researching somebody who could do the website for me. Other things that are more important in the moment have been taking priority, but that's the elephant. And so if I can tackle an aspect of that first thing, at least 1 or 2 days a week, my elephant will no longer be an elephant. Okay. What's your Mount Everest? Your Mount Everest is that long-term great goal you want to achieve. You want to scale your business and take it from, a one-on-one coaching, for example, to an executive corporate coaching business, or you want to be able to public speak at Unity on the Bay. You want to, right? I know somebody here who'd like to do that. I'm there with you. So the beautiful thing is that, what is that dream goal? That's your Mount Everest. That's the one we're going to climb, right? That's the one we want to achieve long-term. And whatever that is for you, that's what you want to make sure that you're blocking time for every week, or if you can do it every day, that'd be fantastic. But if you can't do it every day, make sure that you set some time, right, for it weekly. So that helps you define your priorities. Also think about, what is your 2080? What are the action steps that you're doing that create income, create business, promote growth? We're not doing them all the time, but again, they're responsible for 80% of our outcome. So if we can hone in on what those tasks are, whether it's making phone calls to our clients, whether it's an email blast, whether it's going out for a cup of coffee, or sitting down and writing a new chapter of the book, right? What is it that is your 20 that creates your 80?
Claudia.
Yes.
Hi. The 2080, I don't get it.
Sure.
So
Okay.
it's 20, it's basically the time you put, it's 20%, or what is it?
Basically, the principle says that, okay, let's imagine that in your day, 20% of your day are actually the activities that are helping you create the rest of the outcome. So let's say that in your work day, you got sidetracked with emails, you got sidetracked with other things, but 20%, let's say 2 hours, you were really in deep focus. And in that deep focus time, you spoke to 5 clients, you booked 3 sales of those 5, and now you know that your next month of revenues is taken care of.
So it's the actual time that you got to work, or focus? Is it focus, the word?
We can look at it that way, but basically the rule is just talking more generally in the fact that our day is filled with a lot of activities, the majority of the time, only of which 20% are really creating the majority of our outcome.
Okay.
What we're seeing reflected in our lives. Is that a little clear? Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, we end up losing a lot of time with things that aren't necessarily the most productive, or not necessarily the ones that we really want to focus on, that are bringing in the best outcome for our days. So that 20-80 rule applies in just being able to look at what that 20% is, so that we can increment that 20% and maybe delegate the rest. And then therefore we scale our business, right? And all of a sudden, wow, we have, instead of putting 2 hours of our day, we're putting 4 or 6 hours of our day towards that. So there's a whole section on efficient versus effective that I like to talk about, but we're going to have to kind of skim through that so that we can get to some of these things. What are you focusing on? So look at your day, right? And see of your whole day. Take yesterday, take today, take, last week, and just take a look at your calendar objectively and say, wow, what of these tasks are the ones that are really giving me the best outcome of what I want to achieve at this point? And what have I been focusing on? Because whatever we focus on grows. So if we're focusing on the lack of time, that's something that I've struggled with for a long time. That would be what would dominate my mentality, my aura, my feeling. Whereas now I feel, oh, I'm empowered by, I choose my time. I know what the activities are that are most effective use of my time. So I focus on them differently. And I try to focus on the glass half full rather than the glass half empty. So I look at the glass half empty and say, oh, okay, this I can work on, but this is supporting me. I've got this going for me already. What is working? Give yourself credit for what's already working. What you've created that's already working. And we're just going to be every day a little bit more effective in applying tools that can just help us along the way. What is taking up most of your time? Is it the productive stuff or is it the distracting stuff?
You said something, I don't know how to interrupt you. Raise your hand.
Yes.
You said something very important. You said whatever we focus on grows. So many times you can focus on negative thoughts or negative things. When you talk about, like, do you go into that kind of positive, negative thinking in this kind of coaching?
Absolutely. It's one of the things that's very much part of the way that I coach and the consulting that I do. And we've done an inner space with Maria Gabriela before, as a matter of fact, on conscious communication, and it's part of our conscious leadership program. So there's definitely all kinds of different programs that we do where we talk about how to change limiting beliefs, how to, it's part of coaching as well. So it depends if you wanted to work on one-on-one or if you are into self-help and self-growth. This is kind of the line of coaching that I do and the consulting that I do, because I really do believe that our beliefs create all our reality. And so if we're focusing on the negative, right, and we're only seeing that, then that's what creates our feeling or perception of reality. So does that help? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it feels, because that feels like a 360. It's like a vicious circle. Es un círculo vicioso.
Absolutely, vicious circle. And you're absolutely right. So how to break from that is, again, acknowledge what you are doing that's working for you. Be grateful. I mean, I try to teach my son every night to say, okay, what am I grateful for today? 3 things different from yesterday. What am I grateful for today? And this is how I like to go to sleep, because otherwise that crazy radio in my head tends to go anxious. This didn't get done. That didn't get done. This didn't get done. So I need to shut it off. And so I help myself do that by having this list that the minute that idea comes up that I hadn't thought about, oh, I can write it down and I can put it to rest. And then I can be grateful for what I did accomplish, for what did happen, for what was special about my day today. And that changes energetically your vibration, it changes your outlook, it changes your focus level on the way that you focus the next day. And so one of the other things this leads into is ask yourself, this is a wonderful, wonderful question that Gary Keller from Keller Williams Real Estate has a book called The One Thing. And he says, what is that one thing that I can do such that by doing it, everything else would be easier or unnecessary? It's a phenomenal question. It's a really, really powerful question. What can I do right now? What is the one thing today that I could do such that by doing it, everything else would become easier or unnecessary? Right? So what is that one thing? And you'll find them when you ask the question. You'll find what that one thing could be, whether it's your hubby picks up the kids. Ooh, maybe that makes a world of difference for you that afternoon and allows you to accomplish everything else. Or maybe it's, your sister picks up the dry cleaning so that you can take that deep focus time and complete a major goal. They're little things sometimes, and sometimes they're big things, right? Get an assistant. That's a huge thing that might make everything else easier, right? Or find the right coach that helps you hone in on what are those big goals you want to accomplish. I mean, it can be so many different things. Please go ahead.
It feels like you give examples that are tangible. Can you give examples that are not?
Okay, intangibles like?
It could be feelings. It could be, I don't know.
Sure. What is the one thing that I could do so that this feeling, okay, let's say mourning, right? Loss. That's a tough one. And what's the one thing that I could do if I had a deep loss? And that's an intangible, but it's a feeling, right? And I need to focus on work, but I've just lost a parent. And this is the example of a dear friend who was needing to function. And so many of us will be going through that as we lose parents or loved ones or siblings, through life. So what is the one thing? Sometimes that one thing can be as simple as today, I just need to breathe. Today, I just need to sit with myself or journal, or today I need to let myself cry it out. And sometimes it's as simple as that, which is really hard because I say it's simple. Simple only in that figuring out what that one thing is. It can be a simple thing. Letting ourselves break down and cry it out is not a simple thing. It's usually really hard. We have a very hard time facing our emotions, and particularly the ones that make us uncomfortable. So what is the one thing I can do for myself today? Maybe today is meditate, or maybe today is take a walk by the ocean and allow myself to process. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's talking to a coach or therapist and setting my intention to do a coaching program for the next 3 months so that I can channel and realize what I want to accomplish. Maybe it's therapy, right? Does this help? Are these kind of the intangibles you had in mind?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, wonderful. Good. So that one thing can be simple, can be a simple thing, or it can be a huge thing, right? But ask the question, ask yourself the question, because that will help you clarify and see where you can delegate, what's important, what's not important, and how to find ways to be more effective, basically. So prioritize your lists, right, into actionable steps. And then once you have, really ask yourself, I mean, there's some things in that long list of the yearly goals that we were talking about before that maybe don't go on your weekly list, that have been there year after year, and then they don't get done. Maybe it's time to let that one go, right? Sometimes we need to figure out, okay, what can I do? Can I do it? Let me get it done. Can I schedule it? Okay, it's gonna get done on Thursday. Brilliant. Or next Monday, done. Can I delegate it? Can I have an assistant do it, a family member do it, a roommate do it? Or do I hire somebody to do it? Or do I barter with someone to do it? Because guess what? Maybe I'm not the most effective person at getting that done. Maybe I'm really, really good talking to people and clients, but I'm really bad at the invoices and billing. So I get somebody to help me with that. Delegate it, set it aside. If it can't be accomplished this week, don't have it lingering on top of you like, you know, this coulda, woulda, shoulda. It's just depleting energy. So put it aside on the list for next week, or the list for next month, or the list of big things that you want to accomplish. You just don't know exactly when because it's not a priority yet. Okay. Once you have clarified your goals, your high priority tasks, block schedule your day around accomplishing those first, like we've talked about, priorities, 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 and make sure you also schedule time for the things that will help you be your best throughout the day. What does that mean? Sometimes we need to schedule time for, you know, that cat nap after lunch, or sometimes we need to schedule, you know, a 10-minute meditation or a 15-minute meditation before our interview or the next big client meeting, because, you know, the last client was really difficult or intense, or you know that you have a major task that needs to get done that's going to be, you know, a little bit more challenging because you're chipping away at that elephant in the room. So block yourself a 15-minute grace period afterwards, or block yourself dinner and a movie. Whatever brings you support, block yourself that massage once a week or once a month, maybe, or that yoga class that you know is going to set up your day in a way that you're feeling those endorphins and empowered and ready to rear up. So find what supports you the most and make sure that you put that in your schedule. So this is what my schedule looks like this week, and I'm sharing it so that you guys can have an idea. One of the things that I found super helpful, we've got only a few minutes, and I'm sorry, I'm glad we asked questions along the way. Like I mentioned, I love giving a lot of information, and so I hope that this is helpful. But one of the ways that I've helped myself do this is I've created different kinds of calendars within my calendar, and I color code them. Red is acting and everything that has to do with acting. Blue are things that are appointments that I need to go to. Dark blue is everything that has to happen with family or my child. Purple is personal. They're for me. They're my time for me. Then green has to do with my real estate or side businesses, or things that have to do with career or focus that needs to happen. And then sometimes I don't know exactly, you know, which one I'm going to tackle. But for example, here, right, this morning, I wanted to give myself my big picture time, 2 hours for myself of what am I going to accomplish about my big picture. And that was exactly incorporating some of this material into a workshop that I want to do. And that's a big picture. I want to be able to do a weekend workshop where we actually put all of these things into action and we implement them and we align them with Calendly and with Zoom and all of these things that help us become more effective. So I used this time and this workshop to create those 2 hours steps towards my big goal. So for example, my coaching time is orange. So use these as examples where you can block your time. Everything from, I mean, organizing my workspace, that's essential for me. If I don't do that a couple of times a week or almost every night before I go to bed, I can't really focus the same way. If my desk is not clear, I can't focus. So I do all these things to help me, but I incorporate the time into my block schedule to make sure it's happening. Okay, does this example help? Yes, beautiful. Final action steps. Define your ultimate goals and your weekly essential tasks. Define what tasks will bring you closer to your goals. Define what is the elephant that you need to tackle and the Mount Everest that you're shooting for. Break it down into actionable steps. Plan your day in advance, preferably the night before or at the end of your workday before you leave the office. See if you can plan your day for the next day so that you can leave it behind, you go home and relax, right? Include the top 3 tasks of the day Schedule everything. Schedule your downtime, schedule your sleep time, schedule your taking your vitamins, schedule your yoga time, schedule your buffer time. Create little gaps between the big things and the medium things to catch up with the little things. So make sure, you know, you thought you were going to be able to complete something in an hour and a half. And maybe you did it in an hour and 15, but given Parkinson's law, it's going to take you an hour and a half and maybe an hour 45. So give yourself, maybe after the big tasks, a little buffer, especially before appointments with other clients or with other people. That usually helps. And then define your golden hours. What are the times that are best for you? According to circadian rhythms, we usually have the most focus at around 10 a.m. So I block all of my really, really important things from 10 to 12. And keep asking, what is that one thing? And delegate everything that you can that is not effective for you. And make sure you update this every week or every other week. And it'll help you get a really clear idea of how you're making progress. So,
Wow. That was really wonderful, Claudia. Thank you very much. I know that we are on time, but I just want to open the space at least for a few minutes, 5 minutes, to questions, comments. Yes, please, Aura.
That was wonderful. I think I have a few tips on what to do, but at my stage of life, Mount Everest is to retire with enough income. So that is quite something, because I realize that getting out of a few, well, it's all small investments. If they were very large ones, I wouldn't need so much help. But getting out of some investments and investing in other things. So I realized that I need very much my intuition, and I need all kinds of inputs. Like I need to listen to news, of course, to know where I need to feel when. And I pick up, for instance, a person in an elevator that I hear that is working in the building and that can give me tips, or I will pick up on a friend that is just bought somewhere in Costa Rica. This is amazing, but I have sort of become a wide antenna to be able to hear from the universe what I have to do next. And it's going to be difficult to have these in a list, but I will do that, of course, because right now with these, I'm all over the map. But I'm going to try to sort of put them into a visual technique and try to have the weekly to-do list to be able to profit from all of these inputs, but in a more organized way. So thank you, Claudia. Very, very interesting.
Pleasure. And writing it down, you know, that writing it down will help you prioritize which ones to tackle first. And will, again, scientific research will make sure that those get done.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
I know that we exceed our time, so I want to please feel free to leave if you need it. But we want to allow, if someone wants to ask questions, we can do it. Thank you.
I'm happy to answer any questions you have. So bring them on. Yes, Natalia.
I have two questions. One, is this the same for young adults or for teens?
Yes, it does apply the same way. So for example, it's just that your schedule is going to look a little bit different, right? You're going to schedule your classes and you're going to schedule when certain projects are due, for example, and that's the priority. You know, science is due on Friday and I have a test on Monday. Well, you want to make sure that you are covering those before you finish French literature. So, you know, whatever specific case may be. So schedule your downtime. I mean, these are habits that are going to help you for life, ideally, and you can apply them anywhere. You can apply them to a CEO, and you can apply them to a mom who's a stay-at-home mom who needs to juggle the 2 kids and the dog and the laundry. I mean, whatever it may be, these principles are going to help you find ways to use your time more effectively. And think about, what are your long-term goals so that you can do the steps that you can do now to get there within the 6 months or within the year.
Okay. And the other question was, I see they're all women here right now, so
Yeah.
we tend to have multitasking.
Oh, yes.
What do you think about that?
Oh my goodness. I think we as women particularly have been raised and need to learn to wear all the hats. I mean, if you think about it, since the 60s or 70s, you know, our role has shifted tremendously. And so now we get to do it all. But that means that we get to do it all. And we need to figure out how to do it all. So it's a lot of times, I'm a single parent. I need to produce. I need to make sure that there's income and that my child is taken care of. And I need to find ways to, you know, juggle the careers because I like doing all 3 things. And so I don't want to necessarily give one up. And there's reasons why each one of these is helpful for me. So the acting is my profession and something I've done for 25 years and something that I love. But moving to Miami, there's not as much work here. So I needed to come up with other venues of income, but that allowed me a certain freedom. And then I realized that my coaching is something that I really, really am passionate about. And so that's the part that I want to grow, right? So all of these things, I think we as women, and that's why we want to empower each other and why we want to support each other as much as Maria Gabriela does and We Evolution does, and why we're here, is that we got to get each other's backs and we got to make sure that we're all thriving. You know, it's about, let me give you a hand and pull you up. That old philosophy of catty women that, you know, would fight and all that, that's just so old fashioned and so outmoded and really unnecessary energy. I want to make sure that, you know, we can keep raising each other up. So we've had to learn to multitask. Did that answer your question? Because I can talk about this for a while, but did that answer your question, Natalia? There are men who have to juggle, but it's not as usual and as many and as often. And we did have some men here before who were dear friends that came in to support, which was nice, but I think they had to go.
So I think, Silvina, you want to, please,
Well,
go
Natalia,
ahead.
it's amazing, but I'm a little bit scared, by the way. Natalia read my mind because I was about to ask you, will you do this class for teenagers? Yes. So if you're open to do it, I will set a group of teenagers for you because yes. I'm struggling with time management because I love what I do. So I tend to say yes to everything, and after the day is not finished and I'm still working, and sometimes it's even midnight. So how can I convey the time management to my daughter? Is impossible because I don't know how to do it. So I really appreciate your help in that sense.
I would love
second
to.
question is,
yes.
Will you share your presentation? Because I think there is so many valuable things that I didn't have really time to catch. So if you're open to share your PDF, I will really love. I will write my email right here.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and the other
No
thing,
problem.
Silvina, you are going to have the recording to review this presentation. So, and that's another good one. Because I think that I love the part that we need to review our relationship with the time. And I would love to add, because you know me, Claudia, and I know that you will add this too, about to heal our time, give us a space to heal our relationship with our time. I want to say this because that was the case for me. I was very anxious. I was always ahead of everything. I was very pushover. I always wanted to have a lot of things done at the same time. Come on, that's not humanly possible.
Exactly.
So I know that today start a new way for all of us, that we, if you give yourself the time to review and do the homework.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Put it to practice. It will make a world of difference. And, you know,